Hey YouTube, welcome back to another episode of Let's Repair eBay Junk, I guess. I got this one off of eBay a little while ago. It's been sitting in my repair shelf for a while, but I thought this would be a great episode. So this is the SEGA Genesis Nomad, or the Mega Drive to us Europeans, and it has some screen problems. Now, let me show you what I mean by screen problems. So, you use the Lion King to test it out. Yeah, as you can see, half of the screen seems missing. So, doing a recap of this system hopefully fixes it, but to be honest, it doesn't matter much, because I'm going to do this in multiple episodes, but I have another LCD screen upgrade for this ready as well. So I figured I'm going to do a recap, we'll see where this goes, and if it doesn't work, well, we'll just install the new screen and upgrade from there. There's a couple other minor tweaks I want to do. Obviously there's somebody drew a big X on that screen, but I've got a replacement for that, so that's all good. I got this full Nomad cap replacement kit, so I'm gonna open this up and we'll see how easy the replacement is going to be. Now, I looked a bit online and it's separated out into a couple of boards, so it should be fairly easy to get access to it. There's just a couple of screws you need to undo. I believe some of them, or all of them, I'm not sure, might be security screws, so just be aware of that. But I'm going to open this up and then I'll get back to you. Alright, so I've opened it up. As I said, the bottom middle one is a security bit. Doesn't really want to focus, but yeah, that's a security bit. The other ones are just a Phillips head screw. Don't know if that you can see that, but they are. So if you've undone the screws, it basically folds open like a clamshell, and this ribbon connector goes in here, and you can simply disconnect that. I'm going to focus on this side of the board first. This is where the cartridge connector sits, so in there. I'm going to have to take off the shielding and then we'll have a look at what we find there. As I said, though, it is basically multiple pieces sandwiched together. So that's the high voltage converter for your backlight. This is the main board basically, and there's a tiny little board here which is basically for the mode and start buttons. And all the other controls are on here, so it's your audio knob. Am I saying that right? No, that's your brightness, I'm sorry. So it's brightness, and then here's audio together with the headphone jack. And up top there's power, and there's your AV out. So I'm going to put this aside and I want to focus on this one next. So I'm going to undo all the screws again and we'll have a look what we can find. So with all the shielding and all the shell around it removed, this is literally the board that you're left with. You'll face it from this side, but once you get it out, you'll have this side. And as you can see, there's actually very few caps on there. So I honestly doubt these are going to be the culprit, but yeah, just going to change them out, and I think that's just going to be good for the machine to do a full upgrade anyways, so will never hurt. I'm going to get the other chip from the front half out, from this one, and then I think I'll start working on all these first. Then I'll do this one last, because actually in order to run Master System games, there's a wire you need to run. I'll have to look up the specifics and I'll post a link down in the in the comment, but there's one of these pins, I think it's 45, that you need to run a wire off of over here from the top of my head. Basically that allows you to run Master System games on this machine as well. So while we're at it, might as well give that a shot. So I'm going to disassemble this further and I'll get back to you afterwards. So I got the front board out, and this side actually, the back side, looks pretty good to me. Like all the caps, there's no discoloration on any of the legs. They all still seem very shiny. So all that checks out pretty well. At least I'd expect them to look like that. Maybe this one and that one might need some more urgent replacing, but looking at it from this side, it doesn't seem too bad. But on the screen side of the board, if you look at this cap right here, those legs, they're really black for some reason. This cap has gone really bad. I'm surprised it hasn't corroded any further, but there's also some slight discoloration on the board here. So I'm going to have to check, do a little cleanup, but definitely need to start replacing this one first. Trying to get a better angle, better shot, but I suspect that might actually be the main issue. Like I said, all the other caps, they seem pretty good. Not sure, I'm starting to doubt having to redo all of the caps. Might still be good, but this system doesn't seem to have had to endure a lot of play sessions, which in a way is kind of sad, of course, but I'm still pretty happy with how all that looks, as you can see. So I'm going to replace the towering caps, like that one, definitely this one. And I don't believe on the front board, no, these are all SMDs as well. And again, these look very shiny, so I don't see a need for replacing them right now. So I'm going to replace the other ones and we'll hook it up temporarily and we'll see what results we get. Hopefully that might already fix the screen. So quick little tip. That cap is actually being held in place with some of the, I have no idea what it is, like silicone, focus, come on. Some silicone, hold on, here we go. As you can see, with, yeah, some gunk. Now, by watching some of Voltar's PC Engine videos, he had a very useful tip. I think it was Voltar at least. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. But I used a swab and put a bit of isopropyl alcohol on that, and then it just held it onto that cap for a little bit. Come on, I want to focus. There we go. So you just hold it on there for a little bit, and it sort of makes that silicone, or I don't know what it is, but it weakens it. It makes it a bit more moldy again. And then you could just simply lift up the cap and yeah, comes clean off. So if you're struggling with that, use some isopropyl alcohol and a swab and just leave it on there, soak it for, I don't know, like 20-30 seconds. It comes right off. So I have finally replaced the old cap, which was looking a bit nasty. It's got all sorts of black shit basically growing on its legs. That one definitely needed replacing, and hopefully I can get some focus going on. But here's the new one. There we go. It looks pretty good. Doesn't have a marking on the board, so the negative side of the cap is towards the bottom. So I'm gonna partially reassemble it and see if that actually fixes any of the issues that we're seeing before. Right, so I've reconnected the ribbon cable. There is the Lion King at the bottom off screen here, inserted into the slot, hooked up the power, so I'm going to turn it on, we'll see what happens. And let's get some more focus on that. I actually probably adjusted the brightness, there we go. So, still broken. Seems like we're going to have to do a full recap, but that one was looking really bad, so get that one out of the way first. I'll continue doing the rest and I'll get back to you. So I've fully disassembled all the SMD caps. I'll show you. Try and get a better close-up of this. Yeah, there you go. So the way I do this, and I'll show you on the connector side board later on, but I know there's a lot of people who don't really like this technique, but I grab hold of the SMD cap with one of these snips, and I don't apply pressure by pulling, but I pinch the SMD cap and I rotate it, and then basically let the pressure inside the cap. Let's see if I can show you. So one of these caps, it just, yeah, the legs just either pull out or they break without pulling a trace. So after that, obviously what you want to do is you want to get rid of any remnants, and as you can see on my workbench, if it decides to zoom, there's a whole bunch of it over here, and you just use a bit of flux and some desoldering wick I've got here, and get rid of any of the old solder, so that way you can, when applying the new caps that I've got, you can add a tiny bit of new solder, and just makes it a whole lot easier to get them back on again. But yeah, overall, so far, I'm very satisfied with the results. Came out very clean, and I'm going to solder all of these back on with the new caps, and we'll get on to the back side of it. I think I might actually reassemble it first and test it out, and if the screen still doesn't work, and I'm afraid the screen's dead. Again, not a big issue, seeing as that I was going to replace it anyways. I'll get all the caps back on and see you shortly. So I've got the recap all done. As you can see, results are actually looking pretty good. Now, the reason why these are all angled and skewed is where you're going to want to be wary of yourself as well. The shells, they come together as, well, obviously two halves, but on the back side, as you can see here, there's all these legs that are standing out, and they hold the board down. But if you flip it over like this and would lay it down, then there's a couple of spots that these legs press on the motherboard. So one down here, there's some here, here, I believe over here as well, and you need to make sure that none of these new caps actually hit up, because otherwise it wouldn't close. Also, there's a height you need to be wary of, because yeah, with the shielding and everything, there's only so much that fits on there. What I actually plan on doing is take the shielding from the back side, it's this one, and tape it off with some, or mask it off with some tape, just to make sure that this doesn't hit any of the new caps and causes a short. I went ahead and added the Master System mod. the pin 45 of the 315 5700 SEGA chip, pin 45 over here, needs to be hooked up to that third leg from the front. And if you look at it from the top, that's actually beneath here. So what I've done is I pre-tinned the wire, held it up, heated it up from this side, and made sure it was connected. Then I went ahead and soldered that end. Don't know if that focuses pretty well. There you go. I soldered that end to the chip, so this should now also have Master System compatibility. I'm going to build it back together, and we'll see if the new recap job did its work, or if the screen is at fault, and if we can play Master System games. So assembled it all back, and let's see if it either still works and if the screen goes on. Yep, it does, but sadly we still got the screen garble. So I'm pretty sure somewhere in the screen connector it goes wrong. Like I said, that's not a big problem, seeing as I'm going to replace it anyway for a more modern LCD. But still got the Master System mod, so I'm going to go grab a Master System game and see if that works. So I've got a Master System game in here now. It's called Thunderblade, which is the nearest one I could grab, and I'm going to boot it up and see what happens. Not seeing anything. Might be a bad connection. I haven't tested the game in ages, so let's see. Oh, and it might actually be, because this one is European, I think. I'm not sure about that. Don't think I've done anything wrong in the wiring, but let's try again. Yeah, doesn't show anything. That's interesting. Actually, while we're here, I'm going to grab my screwdriver, open this game up, and let me show you a neat little trick to clean it up as well. Again, both screws, got them out. Yep, there you go. And here is our game. Connectors don't look too bad, but you know, let's give this a go. I got an eraser here. I'm just going to rub against the contacts, and that should get rid of all the dirt on there. So, doing this off camera for a second. Sorry. Pretty difficult getting this on the camera from where I'm sitting, but clean it all off. And if it focuses, that'd be a whole lot easier. Let's try this. There you go. Those contacts look good as new again. See at the bottom, it's a bit of dirt on the lower half. Just gonna take my eraser, just run it along them. It's going to clean off all the dirt on there. here's those same contacts again. So I'm going to reassemble it back into the shell like this. Put the two halves back together. Put the screws back in. Other side as well, and try and put the game in there. There you go. I'm going to reinsert it into the slot here and see what results we'll get when we power it on. And still nothing. I'm going to have to go and troubleshoot this for a moment. Alright, I'm doing this from hand. You'll quickly see why. Sorry for the shaking. Anyways, I figured it out. And as you can see, it's booting now. Now, the reason why it didn't work before is because it required the you call it the Master System converter. That was the whole reason. I didn't think of this. I was checking it out online, and people were using their EverDrives. Now I don't have one, and for some reason I assumed just inserting the cartridge will work. So keep in mind, if you're doing this mod yourself, it is as easy as just rerouting a single trace with a small wire, but you would need to carry around this massive converter on top of it. I happen to have one. This is the Model 1, so the Model 2 looks slightly more slick, but it's still going to make the handheld huge. So yeah, if you want to play Master System games, probably best getting an EverDrive. But yeah, this is working, and that's pretty awesome though. So I'm gonna get my camera back on the tripod, and we're gonna look at the next part of this thing. Alright, so back to normal. Put in the Mega Drive game again. As you can see, well, except for the screen being broken, the console itself works. So the next step, what I want to do is, see, this is the old speaker, and I'd ordered a set of new ones. They're slightly, quite a lot bigger, and I somehow need to find a way to get them into the case and make them fit right around here. I have an idea for this. I'm gonna have to fiddle around a little bit, but if I get it working, I'll show you guys. And actually, I think if I can get it working, it's going to be interesting for the rest of the community as well. So just hold on, I'll be right back. By the power of editing, you will not notice how long it took. It's been about 2 weeks since I last recorded the video on working on our Nomad. I've been working quite hard on the audio side of it, and I am really happy with the results, and I'll share and show you guys what I've been doing. So I actually whipped out my 3D printer and built a custom holder that holds our new speaker in place. It requires a tiny bit of modification, and let me get it out for you. It's a two-part piece. So there's the top cover, and then there's the speaker itself, which is held into place, and then there's the bottom piece. And this acts basically as a funnel for the audio through the front speaker, or front port of the speaker, I guess. Now, like I said, it needs a tiny bit of modifications. So what I've done here is I've snipped off that piece, cut out that bit, and I had to take out a bit of this support and also half of this one. It's mostly supporting on this one and then grabbing around the edge of it. But like I said, assembly is rather easy. Hold on, let me actually show you. So there is the top piece, there's the bottom half, and let me do this on camera for you. And like this. It's difficult doing this on camera. Anyway, I guess you get the idea. These two fit very snug and has enough space in between over here to hold our speaker itself. Now, the one issue I ran into is when installing the speaker, sadly, the old screen doesn't fit. If you look at the board, I have desoldered the screen, and as you can see here, this is whatever's left of it. But as I did point out earlier, I believe I pointed that out earlier, I have a replacement screen. So I could hot glue this right into position and be done with it. However, seeing as my previous results with the audio I was so satisfied with, and also just a little showing, here's all the failed attempts and tries at it. Yeah, this one is particularly horrible. Anyway, rambling. When doing this upgrade, the audio one, I thought, hey, why not print another bracket? So I printed this one first, and it should fit in here, and you can place the screen here or underneath it like that. But as you can see, it would cause a mess with these wires. So this one was a first failed attempt. Learned a lot about it. But my second attempt, and I'll show you the difference between the two. This is my second attempt, was dead on. So the way this works is you put down the screen, you work it around this one, you do it this way, and the beauty of it is you don't really need to mind alignment just yet, because, and I'll show you, hold on, so you put this over there. Again, sorry guys, on camera this is annoying, and I'm actually rather excited about it. So there you go, that fits perfectly, and the daughter board to this fits in here perfectly. Now mind you, this is going to short circuit, so you want to add some electrical tape there, but that's not the biggest issue. Now the beauty of this is when I grab the motherboard, actually, yeah, should do it the other way around, but regardless, I'll show you. If I put this down, these holes where the LCD used to mount onto, which if I grab this, are these little pegs here, they line up perfectly with the motherboard. So the idea is I'm doing it difficult now, but my original idea is that you take your printed piece, you screw it with the original holes onto this, you can lay it down and it will all snap fit right into place. Like that. There you go. And then you're all done. No need for hot glue. So to me, that's a really great solution. And as you can see, I won't do the camera bit back in there for now, or the speaker, but this fits here. Doesn't touch the new LCD screen, and it's perfect. So yeah, that's the update. Now, I said earlier on share as well, what I want to do is put all these files up for any other modder out there that thinks they can make use of this. Like I said, it took me a week or two on and off to get all this lined up correctly, get the measurements, but I think this is a really neat and clean way. Now, it's not perfectly aligned, I guess, but yeah, you get the idea. Anywho, on to the next bit for this video. What I want to do is, seeing as we have the connector up here, and this is the space where on the previous screen we had the inverter board. I think this is an inverter board at least, for the backlight LCD, or not LCD, for the backlight. But now with that gone, we have a bit of free space here, which is perfect because the connector is up here. This is the original connector. This is one of those dual channel rear view car cameras. But the connector is perfect. What I want to do is I'm going to cut a part of this off, and there's a couple of points here. I believe this one over here gives you 12 volts. There's some ground, and there's a video here. And I can solder those straight onto the wire and connect it up in here. And we should be good to go. So whenever I want to take this apart, I would simply disconnect the wire, unscrew the support legs from my 3D model, and take out the motherboard. Easy as that. So I think this would be a great contribution to everything I've learned from everyone over the years. And again, if you want to give it a go, just send me a message and I'll print one of these up for you and send them your way. Anywho, again, the next part that I want to do is reinstall these. I'm going to have to take this out, take out this old screen because it was a bit scratched. It's dirty, scratched. I have a replacement for that as well. So I'm going to push this out, clean the area up a bit, reassemble, show you the wiring onto the motherboard. And I obviously should have shown this earlier, but this is the original speaker, that's the replacement speaker, so hence why I was losing so much space, and yeah, it just didn't fit with the LCD. So again, if you're going to do audio mod, you'll have to do LCD mod as well. If you just want to do the LCD mod and don't want to mess with the audio, that's fine as well. You can do that one separately. So I'm going to have to solder these wires up here, and yeah, then that will fit straight into the motherboard here, which aligns up with that location. So very modular, very happy with all this. I'm going to get this all sorted and you'll see me in a bit. There, it's now reassembled, at least partially, and I wanted to show you the alignment that I was talking about earlier. So these legs will line up. I'll try and do a close-up of it. So if I get these in, there we go. that one, and that one. They all line up. Now if you add in the screws, they'll obviously self-align. Well, self-align, I mean, the little offset that I have here will be corrected. And turn this over, popped out the front screen. There's our new screen, still has a protector on it, so that's why it looks scratchy, but it's not. And yeah, as you can see, there's a tiny bit of space. I can show you tiny bits of space, but yeah, just like I said, lines up perfectly, and I'm really happy with that result. So I'm going to solder up the wires to the audio. I'll make that connector, and I'll show you where on the motherboard that needs to be hooked up, and we'll keep going. Alright, so I've soldered up the wire. Let me show you. So here we have the video source going to test point 237, which is right below the, not the most right, but the single most right bottom pin of the DIN connector here. Well, as you can see, I am reusing that connector. I did take out one wire. As I said, it's a 2 AV plug system, and I just kept the yellow wire because yellow for video makes more sense to me. White's usually used for audio, so yeah. Just took one of them out, and then you have ground, which is connected to the DC jacket, so it's ground. And you've got power, which, gotta be honest, I thought there was a 12-volt source on here. I might have been checking wrong online. I'm not sure if this is going to be 12 volts, but yeah, if it's not, then we'll have to add a little circuit in between here, which is a power booster, and that means this is just 5 volts instead. And that won't power on the screen. I'm going to assemble it this far and see what kind of result we'll get, and I'll install this and I'll show you on the front part of it how that looks. So I've now reassembled it and got the back piece here. As you can see, the cables, this is where the connector goes, this is where video comes off. Here's, well, on the other side at least, there's the power, so it's on and off. Don't have any power connected up. That's where the jack for the new audio has gone in. And yeah, if I turn it over, a couple of hairs here, got the front plate out, or what do you call it? Have a replacement, but I'll add that later. All the buttons work, so I'm going to partially reassemble the back piece to it, put in the game. I was testing it out with Lion King earlier, so I'll put that in and we'll see what happens. I haven't turned it on yet myself, so might be something horribly wrong with audio. We might have an issue with the power to the screen, but we'll see. Let me get some power and get it assembled, and I'll be right back. So I've got some power up in here. Moved my light a bit away because it was glaring. Let's turn it on and see what happens. Oh yes. And the audio. Seems to be really well aligned as well. That's not bad at all. Oh yeah. That is perfect. So I can close it up now and call it done. that's not entirely true. I still need to remove the protective layer here and put a new screen on, but I think we're almost getting there, so stay tuned and I'll show you the final results. So I moved my light a bit to get this to show up better, but as you can see, I have removed the plastic from the LCD, added a new screen guard or plastic sheet or whatever. Ideally, I'd like to upgrade these to glass versions at some point, but for now it's fine. Like I said, the internal mods that I've done so far have been audio and the new LCD, and especially the printed parts of it. I had a lot of fun doing. So if anybody out there would like to give it a try, then yeah, just send me a message and I can try and print them out. I can give you the files if you have your own 3D printer. We can make it work. Now, just as a final show, sorry about the blurring of this a bit, but I'll try and get it in focus. Here we go. And let me turn up the audio. Yeah, it's really clear.
It stops.
Yeah, like I said, I am really happy with those results. So the next step I want to do to this, and I'll do that in another video instead though, I want to do a region mod. This originally is an NTSC model, only ever released in America, and I'm not sure about Japan actually, but not in Europe. To run any of my European games, I think I have Jurassic Park that shows up like, hey, needs to be PAL region. I need to do a mod to this, but I'm going to save that for a different video, because in the meanwhile, as I said earlier as well, I've been printing and making these files, and it took me about 2 weeks. Within those 2 weeks, I've actually found another pair, 2 Nomads that are broken. So I think the next step I want to do to those is actually restore them to their original version. Maybe as you remember at the beginning of the video on this one, the screen was only half working, so it was partially unsalvageable anyway. We tried to do a recap, that didn't work, didn't bring back the full screen, so we installed a new one. I really like the screen, but I think it'd be cool for my collection to have one that's in its original state as well. So yeah, we'll have a look at the other two, and then in another video we'll get to those, and another video later on I'm going to do a region mod to this. For now, I'd like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and you can follow me on Twitter as well. I'll put that somewhere up the screen here for you. And I hope you enjoyed this.